Zimbabwe will host the 7th annual SADC Industrialisation Week from the 28th of July to the 2nd of August. Industry leaders and other stakeholders are set to discuss industrialisation and economic growth in the region. Joining us is Mangaliso Ndlovu, the Zimbabwe Minister of Industry and Commerce. Minister, very good evening. Appreciate your time. You're only a few days away from the SADC Industrialisation Week. Walk us through what people can expect and what's going to be different about this year in particular.
Thank you so much, Hugo, and very good evening to the viewers and listeners. Indeed, we're looking forward to the SADC Industrialisation Week, which is hosted every year. We have a summit, the country that is assuming the chairmanship of the region, in this case SADC chairmanship, get to host the Industrialisation Week before the actual summit. So you will know the summit follows from the 9th of August to the 18th. So when we're looking at this year's SADC Industrialisation Week, I'm happy to highlight that our preparations are quite advanced. We have what we believe to be an unprecedented number of exhibitors. So far, we have more than 600 people who have confirmed participation, mainly from the region, but also we have some keynote speakers from beyond the region and also from beyond the continent. The whole idea really is to bring policymakers, academia, private sector, various stakeholders together to really introspect and see if we are on course to meeting our goals as espoused in the SADC Industrialization Strategy and Roadmap, which was launched in 2015. We are expecting again for the first time, this is the 7th edition. It will be the first time that we have a day we dedicate to the investment conference. We came up with this idea because we believe that to drive industrialization, we need to attract quality, affordable, and patient capital. And we thought it's important to have an investment forum set aside to have our multilateral financial institutions together with other investors, interacting with industry to identify opportunities with the FCFTA coming on board, even within the SADC region itself. If we increase our integration, there are so many opportunities that they can explore. So we are happy to host. We can't wait to have you, Hugo, and your listeners come to Zimbabwe to interact and see how we can grow the SADC region. You would appreciate, Hugo, that the SADC region is perhaps the slowest in terms of economic growth, in terms of industrialization growth, as well as just integration. And it's up to us, particularly policy leaders, to take a lead in changing this narrative if we are to grow our economies.
Now, Minister, you raise an important issue, and that is the number of conversations that are continually had around industrialization or growth of various economies and SADC. So there are a lot of platforms where these conversations are discussed. What's particularly different about this these series of conversations? Can we expect some action post the SADC Industrialization Week?
It will be a shame if we do not follow through with action. Admittedly, we tend to focus a lot on these talk shows and really nothing gets to be done on the ground. But no one waits for us to act. And as I was saying, other regions, if you look at East Africa, ECOWAS, they are very serious about their economic growth. We really need to step up. What's important about this, when you look at the African Continental Free Trade Area, the key tenet really is that for us to achieve continental integration, we need to start by encouraging and promoting regional integration. I cannot expect to trade freely with East Africa when I cannot trade within the region. And this is where we want to look at ourselves. I mean, our trade is still very low, between 20 and 23% as SADC intra-trade. And if we are not careful, the gap will be filled by other regions seeing us as a market, when in fact we should be some of the major producers for our continent. So it's very important that what we discuss really gets to come up with actionable items, which subsequent industrialization weeks ought to focus on. In fact, if I may just highlight that this is led by the SADC Secretariat, and its main purpose is to give member states on the progress that we are making. So they focus on the last industrialization week, and they say, since the last time, this is how far we have progressed on what we discussed last. So I think it is very helpful to have this as a checkpoint to see where we are going.
Minister, President Emmerson Mnangagwa has often said that Zimbabwe is open for business. Now, the West in particular has not been forthcoming in many areas. In fact, there's been multiple debate about what Zimbabwe is expected to do to attract a foreign direct investment. But foreign direct investment is not just limited to the West, is it? I mean, there's lots of investment available on the African continent. Is this something that you're targeting? Is this one of the purposes or objectives of this SADC Industrialisation Week?
We strongly believe that as Africa, we really need to look inwards. Most of the foreign direct investment that comes into Africa is really going to the extractive sector, and they are coming here to fish out the raw materials, mainly in the mineral side, a bit on the agriculture side. But very few of it really goes into
Okay, we were speaking to the Zimbabwe Minister of Industry and Commerce, Mangaliso Ndlovu, ahead of the SADC Industrialisation Week, which takes place in Zimbabwe later this week. We seem